ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਖਾਸ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਬੜੀ ਖਾਸ ਤੇ ਅਹਿਮ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਲਈ ਜੁੜੇ ਆ। ਜੈਨਟ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਬੜੇ ਉੱਘੇ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਰਖਾਸਤ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰੀਏ।
Thank you. Welcome, Janet.
Hello, Ginny. Thank you very much for having me on your new program. It's a real privilege to be here, and congratulations on your new venture, too.
Thank you, Janet. It seems like we've switched roles.
I was thinking the very same thing.
Yes, because so all of you know, Janet has been a journalist and an award-winning reporter for over 40 years. And I've often been at the other side where she's been asking me questions. So these are reversal of roles, but really delighted to have you here. Janet, you've also started, change your careers, I would like to say, when you moved to work with the Surrey Urban Mission as a director of communications. I think for our listeners, why don't you explain to us a little bit about the Surrey Urban Mission and what it does? And then I would like us to talk about the homelessness survey that has just been conducted.
I'd be delighted. Thank you very much, Ginny, for having me. And as you say, yes, the roles have really been reversed with you and I, and it's a pleasure to be on your program. It really is. The Surrey Urban Mission has been in the Whalley area, Ginny, for 25 years, a long time. And we operate 4 separate shelters and 1 supportive housing facility. So we have 5 sites in all, within about a 4-block radius of each other, in the Whalley area near King George and 108th Avenue. We serve just about 216 people every day. 216 people roughly live in all 5 of our facilities, and we also provide them 3 meals a day. So we serve roughly 800 meals every day to the people living in our shelters. And a little bit about the demographics, too. 78% of the people we serve in our shelters are men. The rest are women. And what we're noticing, a new trend lately, Ginny, which is very interesting and very sad, is that we are seeing older people in our shelter and people staying longer. We have a 94-year-old man living in supportive housing because we cannot find him housing at a higher level with more care that he requires. And we're seeing others in our shelters staying longer. Some people have been in our shelters for 2 and 3 years because there just is not a higher level of care and other facilities for them to move out of shelter space into supportive housing or what have you.
Thank you, Janet. And so how does Surrey Urban Mission get its funding?
Well, 97% of our funding comes from BC Housing, which filters down from the provincial government. So roughly 3% of our funding comes from donors in the community. We are looking to change that and not becoming so reliant on the province for funding because, as everybody knows, that money can ebb and flow. And right now, the finances of the BC government are not great, as everybody knows. So we are trying to reach out more to our community, organizations, companies to support us. And there's many ways people and organizations can support us, Ginny. Monetarily, yes, but also clothing donations and also food donations. We run a community meal program that is solely supported by donations from the community. We hand out meals at one of the windows in one of our shelters for breakfast and lunch every single day, 7 days a week. So if people can donate to us water or juice or individually wrapped snacks, that helps us a great way. But as I say, most of our funding comes through BC Housing from the provincial government.
Thank you, Janet. I know I've visited the center and I have taken part in some of your activities there, including the walk. And I will say to people, if you've got gloves and socks, please go by the Surrey Urban Center and give them to them as well, because with the cooler weather coming, those will be appreciated. But today, I want to focus a little bit on the homelessness count and that we have seen a growth, as you know. And the 2024 point in time homeless count uh, was conducted in March, found 5,232 people experiencing homelessness across 16 metro Vancouver municipalities. So, what can you comment on that?
Well, Ginny, the homeless count, the official homeless count in Surrey, represented a 65% increase over the previous homeless count. Surrey has the second highest homelessness rate in the entire region, and that really highlights the need for effective housing solutions and support services. As well, an additional nearly 1,400 people are estimated in Surrey to be part of the so-called hidden homeless. And those are people, Ginny, who are living in their vehicles or they're couch surfing. And as I said, we're seeing more and more older people not being able to afford housing in the region, and they are living in their vehicles. The city of Surrey, too, Ginny, back in 2022, they did a survey, and homelessness was identified as one of the top community housing issues in Surrey. Residents of the city center area and Guildford were most likely to report concerns about homelessness. However, Ginny, there was limited support for emergency housing, homeless shelters, supportive housing for people with mental health issues and or substance use. And you know, Ginny, until people get help and come in off the streets and are in shelters and have a roof over their head and are fed meals, that is when and where they start to find hope and they feel like they have a future. Last year at the Surrey Urban Mission, we got 89 people into detox, 89 people back living with their families, their spouse, their children. If they had not come in off the streets, they'd still be on the streets.
Thank
When
you.
they come in and are sheltered, that's where they find hope and get help.
Thank you, Janet. And as you said, we are the second highest in the region. But I look at White Rock and I see the increase in White Rock there. The homeless count went up. This is the official count, not the unofficial, went up by 60%. And we're seeing numbers very, very similar to that right across the region. So, what are some of the steps that could be taken to address to these issues?
Well, first and foremost, we need more shelter space. Not only Surrey, but as you say, Ginny, across the region. There is very limited shelter space. There's very limited shelter space in Langley, for instance. We need more shelter space built, and we need it built quickly. Our shelters are at capacity every single day. If we had twice the capacity, we could fill it up tomorrow. We need more supportive housing because the next step out of shelters is to move people into supportive housing where they're able to have their own small room and individual washroom, look after that space, be accountable for that space. We need more supportive housing as well. We need more shelter space built, and we need it built quickly. But we know at the end of the day, this costs money. And we know the constraints on local governments, on provincial governments, on people's individual finances. And property costs a lot of money, buildings cost a lot of materials. Everybody's under financial strain. But at the end of the day, first and foremost, we need more shelter space. That's what I would say to your question.
Absolutely, thank you. And this is where communities and governments and all our nonprofits need to work together to find a solution. Because as we say in Punjabi, roti, kapda and makan. And that means food, shelter, and housing are the three basic requirements. And
Absolutely.
so I want to thank you for giving us this time, and we'll talk a little bit more in the future about how the community can get engaged and help to support what the Surrey Urban Mission does. And thank you for the amazing work you and your volunteers do out of that mission.
It's a privilege, it really is, Ginny, to serve our community and the most vulnerable. And thank you very much for having me on your program to highlight what we do as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janet.